For the 12 days of letter Kenny my TV gave to me. 12 pitter patters, 11 let's get atters, 10 balls a tugging, 9 sushis and shimis, 8 beers drank, 7 how are you now, 6 good and use, 5 to be fairs, 4 annoying skids, 3 best friends, 2 further boys, and an ostrich allegedly. Welcome everybody to episode 6 of the Falic Exchange, and in the past couple of weeks we've had quite a bit go on in the world of gaming and the world in general. So we're going to be talking about a little bit about that, and also it's snowing in Michigan, so fuck it, we're talking about Christmas already. And yeah, so we're going to be getting some Christmas talk talk about some traditions, some favorite things about it, how it's been impacted by the current pandemic climate. And yeah, so as always, I am Fate the Tatted Hate, joined here with Falic and Aku. And together we make up the Falic Empire. So the first thing we're going to be talking about was the highly anticipated console launch of the PS5 and the Xbox Series X. I don't know, they're kind of going with the whole Apple thing where they just keep adding X's or S's to the end of their stuff. I don't really know what to make of it, if we're being honest.
I mean, to be fair, PlayStation keeps on adding numbers, or like increasing the numbers, so it's not much different.
It's way simpler. Are you serious?
PlayStation 1, PlayStation
5.
2,
Okay,
PlayStation
easy.
3, PlayStation 4.
Which
Yeah,
Xbox is it? The 360? Wait, is that the first one, or is it
They
actually
had
the 360
the Xbox,
one? Or
the
did
Xbox
that
360.
did that one just like spin in a circle and be just as shitty as it was before? Like, I don't understand what's going on here.
Xbox.
I understand why they go Xbox 2
Xbox
after
360, Xbox Xbox One,
They went
Xbox
normal,
One
360,
S,
yeah, and then one.
Xbox
X.
One Series X, and then now they're like, I don't even know what they're doing. It makes no sense.
I mean, at least it still looks like a box.
It's like BMW naming cars. Though that actually
Yeah,
has a reason, because that's usually about the engine. But
Well,
anyway.
it used to be. Even they're all messed up now, but anyway.
Yeah, so there was a lot that went on with the consoles, from shortages to scalpers to exclusive titles that are coming out to delays. There's a lot that happened with the console launches. So that's some of the stuff that we want to talk about with you guys today. And if any of you are fans of either series or either Series X or the PS5, or if you're PC fans, make sure you guys leave a comment down below and let us know. I myself am a PS5 fan. However, I didn't really have any interest in getting it at launch because there's not really any games on either system that came out at launch. I'm going to be waiting until some of the exclusives come out that we'll talk about in a little bit. But what about you, Aku? What are you looking forward to? Which one and why?
Yes, I'm in the same boat. I know we'll get into this a little bit later on the whole Cyberpunk thing, but you know, I don't know a lot of people who realize, but I play most of the online and the multiplayer stuff on the streams and whatnot, but more of the story-based single-player games. I like to chill on the couch and play on the console. And my wife likes to watch some of the storylines and all that. So I think Cyberpunk is going to be one of the big ones that I end up playing on the PS5 once I end up picking one of those up again. Once a little bit of the hype wears down, once they're more readily available, and once I have actually a little bit of expendable income. But
There you go. What
I think
about
it's
you,
the
Val?
biggest one so far.
Gotcha.
And the Spider-Man.
I have zero intention of buying any of them.
Okay.
I'd rather spend hopefully $500 with just upgrading my regular PC. I just don't see a point to spending more money on something else when I have a Steam link that I can play PC games on my TV, which is what I'm currently doing.
Gotcha.
So like,
So even if you were gonna buy one, you'd go Xbox, and at which point you can buy all those games on the PC anyway. So why?
So actually, no, I would switch. I have an Xbox. Well, I lent it to a friend, but I have an Xbox. But I would probably switch.
Yeah, which is like my kind of theory for the past couple of years. My look at it is free, and I'm not trying to turn this into a shit on the Xbox session, but there's no reason right now to own an Xbox. If you like
If
the
you're a
ideal
PC gamer too.
yeah, the ideal way to go and of course, money notwithstanding, is PC and PlayStation 4 or PlayStation 5, because most of the good exclusives are all on PlayStation. Like, any Game of the Year contender has pretty much been a PlayStation or Nintendo. Switch and them have had a couple of decent showings, but very rarely has an Xbox exclusive been the case. I mean, unless you go way back when on the 360 with Halo. But just about every time that you look at an Xbox exclusive, there's a better version on the PlayStation. Like, Forza is big on the Xbox. Gran Turismo is a better sim racer, like, arguably, on the PlayStation. So there's really, like, not much. And also, any of those Xbox games are also pretty much always available on PC because of the Xbox Game Pass. So, like, for me...
That's what...
God.
I was gonna say, you can say that because with the Xbox, that is one advantage, I guess, is that you can play all your Xbox games on PC with the whole Xbox integration thing.
Yeah.
And as you found out, as I showed you recently, you can actually use party chat on your PC as well.
Yeah.
Which is actually really nice to have. But
again, if you have a PC, why would you buy an Xbox? Like, you're going to play all the same games.
Yeah,
if you have
if you're
PC, buy
gamer
a PlayStation.
and you've invested in the gaming PC, just buy the game on the PC.
Yeah.
Unless of course, you're in my situation, where you like the more story-based games from the leisure of your couch with a controller or something like that, and then you just have something against Sony for whatever reason, then I guess Xbox is your go-to.
Yeah. And then...
one thing... go ahead.
No, go ahead.
I was going to say one thing I brought up earlier about you can use a Steam Link instead as well. The only thing that I don't like about that is that it's really hard to get 4K on like a big-ass TV.
Yeah.
And because I tried that, and it worked eventually, but it took me about an hour to try to figure out how to do.
Yeah. Anytime that that's the same issue that Google has with the Stadia or whatever it's called, where any time that you're streaming a game, you're going to run into issues because you're going to have buffering, you're going to have rendering. There's also the latency issue that even on a Steam Link, if you're trying to, play like a COD or a Rocket League, it's a nightmare. A story mode like an RPG or something, not that big of a deal because latency doesn't play into it. But you're not going to be playing Warzone on a Steam Link.
Yeah. I mean,
unless you're playing Dark Souls.
Yeah.
I'm playing through all the God of Wars again, but you can't buy those to download anymore. They're only on PS Now, which is like their game streaming service. So I have to pull it up, and even an old 2003 game or whenever it first came out, with the world's crappiest graphics. Looking at it again, good lord. But like even then, if you play through at like a normal pace and you're killing all the mobs and everything, it's pretty good. It's real seamless. But like if you have to then run back because you're like you need to go a different direction or whatever, and you transverse to like much linear of the map, you'll hit a wall where it has to load for a couple seconds.
Oh yeah. That's how the game was too. Like, I remember playing God of War, and when you go to the new area where it loads the new area, it does take a second. And that was just limitations of the system.
Right.
But yeah.
That was all PS2, I believe.
Yep, PlayStation 2. That was God of War 1 and 2, and then God of War 3 was a PlayStation 3 like knockout title. That one was amazing. And then
to be blunt, I was gonna say God of War is the only reason that I would probably pick a PS5 over an Xbox right now, because that is by far my favorite series of all time.
The new God of War. Add that to the list of things next to Cyberpunk, because good lord, that's going to be incredible.
Yeah, so between that, basically I'm waiting to buy a PlayStation 5 until either God of War drops or Horizon Zero Dawn, the sequel, the Forgotten West, I think it's called, until that drops.
It's Horizon One Dusk.
One Dusk they changed it to? Are you sure about
Zero Dawn, One Dusk. I'm just being a dick.
Oh, okay. What?
Zero and like dawn is the morning.
Yeah.
So then I said one because it's the next number up, and then dusk is the evening. It was just a really shitty joke.
Okay. Gotcha. You need a turn signal for that segue next time.
It
wasn't a segue. It was just a really bad joke about a sequel.
Anyway, yeah. So, which we've mentioned before on the stream, like, or on the podcast, Horizon Zero Dawn is one of my absolute favorite games of all time. So the sequel, I am super looking forward to, and that's when I'm going to end up buying a PlayStation 5.
I often feel like Brad sometimes when I'm trying to when I say a really funny joke, and I'm just sitting there smiling and all of a sudden it's just
Basically, yeah. That one had a stewardess and went right
Crap.
over my head. Let us know in the comments if you got that joke or not.
I thought it was obvious, but clearly my brain was moving too fast.
I thought you were being serious that they changed the
Oh,
title,
no.
and I was like, "What? No, they didn't. What the hell are you talking about?" But yeah, so in terms of the exclusives, I mean, we talked about the God of War, we talked about Horizon. There's also Gran Turismo, which has been long awaited. But then a blast from the past is the new Ratchet and Clank on the PlayStation, which I was a huge Ratchet fan in the back
Never
back in
played
the
any of
past.
those.
We broke a PlayStation because we played Ratchet and Clank Up Your Arsenal for so many hours in a row that it overheated, like straight like a day and a half.
It's a good segue into the new consoles. Make
Yep.
sure you don't put them in any contained space. They need room to breathe.
Yes, they
like
need
to
room to
overheat
breathe.
real bad. Just
Yeah.
be safe for everybody out there.
Luckily,
I've done
so
that.
my roommate has the PlayStation 5 and hasn't had any
Does he?
real issues. The only complaint right now, which it's similar on the Xbox, is the hard drive. It's like a 900 gig hard drive, which is like Call of Duty alone is like 250 gigs now. There's no reason
I don't
that it shouldn't
understand.
have been like a 2
Why does
terabyte.
that game need so much memory? Can somebody
Because
explain
it's
that?
just poorly optimized. They just keep
that's fair.
ramming content down your throat that you have to pay for, but never actually optimize it.
If you want the technical answer, and I'm not 100% sure on this one, but I'm pretty sure it's because they're still using a very, very old graphics engine. And so it's just, like he said, it's not optimized. So, like,
So
it
instead
requires,
of
like,
releasing
10
a new
10
game
times more
every year,
code.
let us play this game for 3 years and give us something that's not shit the next time.
We've talked about this in the past. They could easily ditch the 2-year cycle, but there's no money in that.
Anyway, now that we've digressed quite a bit, let's bring it
That
back
would
around to wherever
require
we're going next.
caring about the consumer. Hint, hint,
Oh, yeah.
Activision.
Right. Who does that?
Yeah. Speaking of caring about the consumer and wanting to put out a an actual polished game, we're going to talk about Cyberpunk and at least what the goal was. Our resident expert Cyberpunk guy here, Falic, is I think the only one of us who's actually really played the game since it came out. I'm waiting until the bugs go away, and Aku said he's waiting until the PS5. But Falic, what are some of your thoughts on it so far?
Well, really quick, I'm going to kind of correlate it to our last thing. The PS, like 4 or Xbox One or whatever, don't buy it.
Absolutely.
If you
Do
have
not play that game on a current or old gen console.
No, especially so if you have like the newer, if you have the PS4 Pro,
I was changing my mind.
If you have the PS4 Pro or the Xbox One X or whatever the hell the newer like upgraded one is, 900. If you have one of the newer versions of the PS4 or the Xbox One, it's not bad. But if you have like a launch day PlayStation 4, don't do it. It's a bad time.
It's so bad.
Yeah, it's just way too much trying to happen, and the system it doesn't handle it.
I actually saw a news article saying from the devs, do not play this on old gen consoles.
Yeah, they're offering
they said
refunds
themselves,
to the people now who bought them on those consoles.
They said we're planning on fixing it, but it's not a high priority right now.
Yeah, as it shouldn't be. If you're trying to make money as a business, you gotta, I guess I don't know how much money they make on PS5 sales, but
yeah, and I mean, here's the thing: like, they're a relatively small dev team, to my knowledge, and they announced this game a long time ago, and then kept pushing back the launch date because they wanted to release a polished game, which I really commend. Like I appreciate them as a company for that, for not just putting it out there and telling people to deal with it. And then by the time that they were ready to release it was when the new consoles were coming out. So now they essentially needed 5 versions of this game. They needed a PlayStation 4, a PlayStation 5, an Xbox One, and an Xbox Series X, and a PC version. So they had to like redo a whole ton of stuff, which is why there are so many issues with it right now, especially on the older systems. So
Yeah, and I heard some people talking on, I forget whatever stream I was watching, but like it's like the new Crisis in terms of, is this PC build going to run Cyberpunk?
oh yeah,
Like
it
that's
was
like the new
always
benchmark
Crisis was
tester.
which I'm hoping. I think I heard something about a new Crisis down the road,
I
which I'm
thought I did
really
too a
looking
while
forward
back,
to
but
because I enjoyed the
yeah,
third one a
I've
lot.
heard like in the heart of the city, even with like a 3090, you're still getting like 80 frames or something like that. It's still like
Yeah.
lower than what you would expect.
So I have a 2080 Super,
Mm-hmm.
which is not a TI, but it's
Oh, it's
pretty
still
freaking
solid.
powerful,
Yeah.
you know. Yeah.
It's super.
And
Super
I
Theory.
tried Ultra. So here's how I did it. I tried Ultra 4K. I did the whole NVIDIA thing where you can make your monitor 4K on 1080.
Mm-hmm.
And I tried Ultra on that. I was getting 60 frames, or almost 60. I was getting 40, 60 frames,
Mm-hmm.
which so it wasn't bad. But you know me, I'm
For 4K,
I'm a
that's
perfectionist,
yeah.
and so I like my frames being what I paid for my monitor. You know,
Yeah.
I didn't buy this monitor for no reason.
Yeah. I'll
So
turn
I
down
turned it down.
graphics
So
to get 144. No problem.
yeah, so I actually took off the 4K and then just did 1080 with Ultra, and even then I was still getting like 85 frames.
Mm-hmm.
And then in order to get, I couldn't even get to 144 frames. I'll put it that way.
Yeah.
The highest I got was 110 to 120,
Yep.
and that was on medium settings.
Mm-hmm.
And that was even with the NVIDIA DLSS, I think it's called.
Yeah.
You know what that is?
They're ray tracing.
No. DLSS is I don't know exactly how it works, but I know that basically what it does is it takes what the output is of the game,
Mm-hmm.
and it kind of changes the pixels on it so that your graphic card isn't working as hard to make it look as good.
Oh, okay. So it almost like kind of like upscales the graphics, but without needing the graphics card to actually render them.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep.
Isn't it like it's like a learning AI kind of thing that's built into them? It's pretty,
yeah. I think basically what it does is it processes at 4K, but not as high a quality.
Yeah.
And then it compresses it.
Yeah.
So I'm not 100% sure on that. I'm still learning about what the hell it is, but
yeah.
Yeah, me.
Yeah. All right. Yeah. But so bugs notwithstanding, what are your thoughts so far on the actual gameplay? I know you've broken into the game a good little bit. You've streamed it a good bit. What are some of the things that you really kind of stuck out as problems, and what are some of the things that stuck out as really, really good?
So, like you said, bugs. Even then, there weren't really, for me at least, there weren't a ton of actual bugs.
I haven't seen too many in gameplay that I've seen.
I think it was like a day 3 patch they put out that fixed a lot of them.
And it's definitely not like Bethesda level bugs. They're features, not bugs. I don't know about that.
Yeah, but like just the nature of what some of the bugs were that I've seen pictures of were just like you couldn't have made them more meme worthy.
Oh yeah,
if you tried.
Yeah.
But okay.
Well, so bugs, there weren't really many bugs. It crashed a lot.
Okay.
And like I think one stream, well, actually both streams, I'd streamed it twice so far. Both streams had crashed about 4 or 5 times.
Gotcha.
Jeez.
Yeah, that's a problem when you're streaming. It's hard to keep viewers when your game is crashing.
Oh, dude, yeah. Like the first crash, I lost,
You just got to put like a crash counter in the top left of your
one,
stream and just tab it every time the game crashes and see how many we can get to. I don't think I've seen that on anybody's stream yet. A Cyberpunk crash counter.
Actually kind of brilliant.
You should do that.
I will say I didn't watch any of the beginning of people's stream. Like I watched a little bit of the streams of other people playing it when it first came out, like when they pre-released it or whatever, when people were playing it.
Mm-hmm.
I never watched the intro when they created their character.
It's pretty in depth.
That's a good way to put it.
Yeah.
I mean, you could go deep with what the graphics.
Oh yeah.
I just meant like.
Do you go deep with it, Falic?
There's been a number of again meme-worthy things that I've seen out of that. Like people have like modeled like that like when the older guy with the white beard who's always like the I'm in paint face where he's like.
Yep. The grandpa.
Seen that. I've seen Shrek. Somebody did a fat Peter Griffin face. Like the amount of things you can do it's pretty insane.
Oh yeah. So I'm about to ask what is probably the most important question that will be asked on this podcast. Falic, your guy, your character. Mm-hmm. How big was his phallic extremity.
Empire.
let's
How big was the phallic empire?
let's just say he had a F-350 with a 2-foot lift kit, fucking 50-inch tires. He had.
Oh, so you made it disappear.
Yeah, so you made it a really small dick.
It was the opposite of that.
Gotcha. All right. Phallic made his character have a huge cock.
Yeah. Oh, I got to compensate somehow. But, like, other than that, the graphics
That's
were
why
really
it
good.
crashed so hard.
And
Couldn't
it was-
handle the empire. The empire struck back.
Did you really just say that?
Oh, I did.
Yeah.
Just
We
came to
went
me
there.
too. You see my shirt?
Oh my god.
You really think I didn't go there? I had a Christmas sweater that's Jesus drinking a beer that says, "Let's party, bitches."
Not surprised.
We went there.
But all right, two things. I want this to be like a fucking 2-hour podcast. Two things are so far the story is really cool. Even though I was able to see a huge cock on the beginning.
That was probably your first
I,
time because you don't really watch porn.
Shut the fuck up. Other than that, I was a little bit shocked by like how much nudity there was.
Yeah,
There's a fuck ton. There's a ton in this game.
yeah.
But the story so far is really good, and I'm really, really, really looking forward to the content people make when it becomes multiplayer next year.
Oh yeah, I foresee it being like
Wait,
I-
this is gonna become multiplayer?
Oh yeah,
yeah, and
They've already
on
announced it.
the game from
Maybe I
watching
do need
it
to buy it for PC.
looks and plays kind of similar to how like Grand Theft Auto
GTA.
does to a degree
Yep.
almost. So I could really see
Way
if
more
they do
detailed,
the
though.
multiplayer well, I could foresee that taking a lot of people from GTA.
Oh, absolutely.
So, and yeah, I could foresee a lot of cool content. People doing role playing in
You've been
there.
people have been
especially
playing
with the
GTA
nudity in
for
it.
10 years.
People are definitely going to be doing role playing with nudity in that game.
Where's nudity in GTA?
Not really. There wasn't any
There's a little bit.
blatant nudity. Like even when you go to the strip club, like most of them were still had like, clothes on. It was just racy, but like there wasn't usually like from what I remember, I haven't played GTA 5 in a while, but there wasn't really any like blatant like at least that much nudity. It was here and there, but nothing, maybe a pair of titties every
Remember, we're
once in a
talking
while.
about a
That was
game
about
You're
it.
that
not-
was literally
you're-
released 10 years ago. The graphics capability there isn't quite as detailed as what we have now.
I was
Yeah.
about to say, you literally, like, in the first 3 missions, you literally are carrying a naked woman and you have tits in your face.
Mm.
And they're
Yeah,
and as
I've-
you walk and you step, they jiggle.
Oh yeah.
It's like those animes where the really
Yeah, I
girls
feel
with,
like that
way too
was-
they
big boobs.
obviously didn't use COD's engine.
Yeah. Yeah.
But yeah, it'll be kind of interesting to see where that game goes in the future. I'm looking forward to it. I'm waiting for them to do a couple of patches to really fix some of the bugs. But yeah, it looks
Honestly,
like a
up
solid
until-
game. But so along that, I mean that game just recently came out. And one of the other things that I've been seeing on your guys' streams a lot, I myself don't really touch it, but you guys have
Don't-
both been playing World of
start.
Warcraft a lot. And
Yes.
it
There goes my life again.
yes, a lot. So they just recently, to my knowledge,
Yeah.
dropped a new expansion. So why don't you guys
Yes,
tell me a
and
little
it's-
bit? What were some of the
it's, like,
updates with
incredible.
it? What did right out of the gate? What were some of the things that were new about it that you really liked?
All right, so for those who don't know, back in the day when WoW first came out, your max level was 60. This was back in 2004 when it came out, and then they've had up until this one 7 other expansions, and
hmm
each expansion, save I think 2 of them, your level cap was raised by 10 levels, and then I think there were 2 that were 5. So by 2 of them down, you were only 10 ahead. So at the end of this last one, everybody was level 120. And they were like, the numbers are getting too high. Apparently, at least that's what I hear. So they and the way the stats were too, you'd get a piece of gear and it'd have like plus 1,000 something. Like it was just insane.
Yeah, it's hard to
So-
keep track of.
Right. So they did a big squish. They dropped all the numbers back down. They reduced your level. If you were 120, you went down to level 50.
Okay.
So they condensed everything back down, and then with the release of the expansion, they raised the level cap another 10 levels back up to 60. So that's where it's at now, with everything pretty dramatically scaled down. Like for example, I'm like a probably slightly below average gear level now as a tank character with like 34,000 HP. And at the end of BFA, which was the latest expansion, like a good geared tank would have like 800,000. Like it was stupid.
Gotcha. Okay. So, what's the overall, and what's the overall goal? Like, what are you trying to do in WoW? I never really understood what the story
Yeah.
was. So, like, what's
So
going on?
there is some underlying lore back there if you look for it. There's actually a few people on YouTube who put together really good series of like explaining the storyline behind it, and it's a little bit in there if you actually take your time and you read every quest of like what you're supposed to do and why you're going to go find X, Y, and Z and all that. And then
Mhm.
they've gotten a lot better recently too with like cutscene cinematics too. Like you'll do something and it'll trigger a cutscene, and then even within the same zone, like when you first get there and you open up your map, you'll see you're like on chapter 1 out of 5 or whatever. And as you progress through the chapters, you will actually phase into a different part of the zone. So you two people can be there on different chapters, standing in the same spot and not see each other. And like the zones will like change like
Mhm.
as you do stuff in the game. So and it's um it's good like that in terms of like lore building and all that. And again, if you really want to go find it, it's there. Most people ignore the crap out of that and just play the game. And there's man, there's a whole lot going on in it now. There's like mobile game mini adventure where you have this like little
You
command
guys
table
hear
and you
how
get little
excited he's
people.
getting?
Oh yeah.
And
He's
you
like
like send
to the
people out
candy store.
and do your stuff, and you can get extra things from that. Then there's the dungeons, which are 5-man little instances, kind of like the what are they strikes in Destiny? Is that what they're called? Where
Yeah.
it's just like you and a couple people.
Yeah. So you got your
So
3-man strikes and then your 6-man
right,
raids.
right. So it's 5-man dungeons, which are essentially the strikes. They're a lot more. They're a lot shorter, maybe 3-4 bosses at the most, and they'll take you a half hour, 45 minutes, or maybe less if you're fast.
Which
Mhm.
one did we do that took us like an hour, 2 hours?
Well, yeah. If you die a lot, it takes longer. I'm just if you go through it and don't die, it's about what it takes. Um, but then there's the raids, which are anywhere between like 15 and 30 people. I think they've made it now to where,
Damn.
depending on the number of people in there, it'll scale
Mhm.
relatively. So you can
Okay.
do it with 15 or you can do it with 30,
Gotcha.
except for the highest difficulty, which you need a full 20 stack.
Gotcha. Okay.
Um, but that's where you get like all the really really high end stuff, and the fights are very mechanic heavy. They're very difficult. Everybody's got to do what they got to do, and if one person, there are things where if one person screws up, everybody dies.
Oh,
So like it's very personal account heavy.
that's exactly like when you look at Destiny, to kind of draw parallels because Destiny is designed to be an MMO. A lot of people forget that because it's such a smooth shooter, but it's really like designed to be an MMO. And when you look at the overall gameplay, you could screw around a lot and just kind of have fun and shoot and just power your way through. But when you look at the raids, they are very, very mechanic based. And
Mhm.
there's quite a few raids that have come out where the slightest screw up on someone's part and the whole thing goes to shit and you got to restart. So I definitely understand that part. It's complicated.
There's a few dungeons like that though too.
Oh,
I
for
think
sure.
it's
There's some
what's
dungeons in Destiny too because they have the strikes which are 10-15 minutes. They have the
yeah, certain
dungeons
dungeons
which
are a
are
little bit different.
half hour to an hour if you're good at them, and then there's the raids which could be. I mean, there are people who speed run the raids and get them done in a half hour once they're really, really good at it. But yeah, there's.
Yeah, once you get a lot of the bosses on what they call farm, because you can just farm gear out of them.
Mhm.
Yeah, most of these things don't take that long either.
Yeah.
Like we used to do a 12 boss raid in one day, I think, because in one 4-hour period.
Mhm.
Because once you understand it and you can just get them down, you just blow through it. The long nights are when you're trying to progress and figure out how to actually do things. And even when you have videos and good strats of how to do it, it's still putting all the pieces together and actually executing, which is
Yep.
quite difficult. So
Yeah.
Well,
Absolutely.
so
I love
I,
that shit. I live for that stuff, man. It's
yeah,
way too
I
fun.
would say Aku is more into the dungeons, raids, and all that. I'm more into the gameplay and questing and all that sort of stuff, though.
Okay.
Um,
So you like just kind of like the general grind of it.
I mean, I like raiding in dungeons and stuff like that. Well, actually, I've never been to a raid, but I've done dungeons.
Uh-huh.
But the thing with dungeons is, like, for me, it seems more grindy than it is doing quests.
Mm-hmm.
Whereas quests, it's a little bit different each time. I mean, it's kind of all similar, but it's not, like, all the same.
Yeah.
And well, then, and now I recently, as of like this week, I've gotten into leveling my leatherworking, which is your profession.
Mm-hmm.
And the reason I'm doing that is because with this new expansion, they actually are starting to take, it feels like, oh, I mean, I didn't play a ton before, but it feels like they're starting to take professions into account when it comes to, hey,
They are.
you
They're
need to
trying to
level
make
up.
them a little more relevant.
Yeah. Yeah. Like, for example, you need something that I can create,
Yeah,
Yeah,
I gotcha.
it was always like that to a degree. Like back when I took a very long break from it after the third expansion or second expansion, I guess. But I played mostly during the first expansion, and like he was saying, like the leatherworking thing, like you could make some stuff like right when you got max level that you could craft, and it would be great to get you into the higher end dungeons and the raids. But then it was effectively useless. The biggest thing out there is they invented a new profession called jewel crafting, which you could make gems that had stats in them. Some gear would have a socket that you could put the gem in, you get extra
Okay.
stats. And that was like the big money maker of that expansion because it was only the only real gimmick they had in terms of there was enchants and stuff that other professions can do, but as far as like the base make the armor profession, they were essentially useless. So yeah, it's good now that they're doing that where the legendary items, so to speak, you have to have a base crafted material from one of the professions to then go to some other place and make
So
your super item.
Gotcha.
I would say overall, I like this expansion a lot better than the previous ones. But we also had another expansion for Destiny that is more Fate's expertise.
Yes and no.
Yeah, we might as well spoil. I'm going to talk all night.
Yeah,
I
we
have
know.
a love-hate relationship with Destiny. So Destiny 1 came out, I played the hell out of it. Then I stopped because it got boring. Then they brought out an expansion, and I played the hell out of it, and then I stopped because it got boring. And the same thing has happened with Destiny 2. And right now I'm in the cycle of falling in love with it again. Because they just recently dropped the Beyond Light expansion, which is pretty unique in a lot of ways. One, the overall
Is that just
story
what's
of it.
behind Falic?
So, the beacon of Gondor down there. You
Sorry,
just
that
say
was
that
too
because
easy.
he's self-conscious over this paleness. But
So
so
we have to wait while he finds the right sound bit. Hold on.
but the
That's what I was looking
no,
for.
we're just powering through. But the overall story isn't really anything kind of super crazy, but it's what happens within it. So the overall story is it follows the Fallen who learn to wield the darkness and are now trying to use it against us, which if you guys know anything about Destiny, we're on the side of the light as guardians and the darkness is our enemy. Well, in Beyond Light
How
it starts to really draw this defining line and making there be a difference between darkness as a power and darkness as a concept. So there are enemies who use the light for bad, and in spoiler alert, in the new expansion for Destiny, we get a new subclass. And now we're able to wield the darkness. It's called stasis. And
Nice.
so it kind of breaks apart that idea that, hey, darkness is a power, but it's not necessarily evil. It's bad when darkness as an entity is evil because the darkness is something that we don't know what it is yet, but it's evil. But we're able to use its power as guardians for good. Hopefully there will be some consequences down the road to make things interesting because the darkness guardians who have used it in the past get corrupted by it and become bad. So I'm curious how that'll be. But the story itself is pretty interesting, but really it's the ability now to use the darkness, which is something that not a lot of people saw coming in the story. But then there's the new raid, which a lot of people are anticipating because it goes into the Deepstone Crypt, which is where anyone who follows the lore in Destiny, that's where the Exos, which are the character you can play as that's a machine with a human mind, that's where they were created back
Oh, that's like
years and years ago.
not the
And no one
class, but
really.
like the race you can choose.
Yes, you can
Yeah.
be human, awoken,
Yeah,
or
yeah.
exo. So it's pretty cool. And then they just recently, today actually, no, yesterday, we're recording this on Wednesday, brought out the Dawning, which is an event that they do every year. It gives you a lot of really good gear, a lot of cool quests from it and stuff like that. But it's a Christmas event that they do, where the tower's overhauled and everything, and it's a really fun event. Actually, it's probably one of their better events because it has you combine ingredients and take stuff to different characters. So you get to revisit a lot of the game that you probably don't touch or play as often, which is really nice. So there's a lot going on in Destiny right now, and I'm super excited about it.
So who's the OP character this time?
When you say OP character, are you talking playable character or like boss?
No, like you. Like when
Oh.
you're playing PvP, who's the guy that you always yell at and just swear obnoxiously because of them?
So right now the meta for PvP is very shotgun based. It's a lot of people just running up with shotguns.
Oh, so every shooter. Got it.
Yeah, but in this it's a little bit different because you have to really grind to find the right shotgun, because you need one that readies up fast and has the right perks to actually make it useful. But as far as characters, I still main a Titan. Titan is by far the most fun character in the game. High level PvP, it's usually hunters, actually. Like someone who really knows the game and is on point can destroy people with a hunter. Warlock is probably the most well-rounded.
I thought that new guy in our Discord said the hunters suck.
So hunters suck with people who don't know how to use hunters. If you have a bad Titan, they could. Yeah, so if you have a bad Titan, they could still help out. A bad Warlock can still help out. Hunter abilities are a lot more technical, and there's a much higher skill gap to effectively play as a Hunter. Any idiot can run around as a Titan and do good. Any idiot can run around as a Warlock and do good.
That's how you do good, right?
Exactly. That's why I play as a Titan. But yeah, so the Hunter has a much higher skill gap, but their abilities are nutty if you know how to use them. As far as the new darkness abilities go, hands down, Warlock is the best. Titans suck. Hunter is okay. Warlock, brutal. He literally, he has a staff, and he just shoots people at long range with an aim-assisted freaking ball that freezes them. Then from, basically any range, just raises up the staff, and they explode. It's stupid. He just runs around doing that. It lasts forever. It's so dumb. I hate it.
They had a similar thing last time, too.
So
it was similar. The big ball thing.
That's the Nova Bomb. That's okay. But usually Dawnblade, they do. It's not used in PvP that often because you have to get the enemies grouped in order to kill a bunch. Most people use the roaming supers in PvP, which is like Dawnblade, where you're running around throwing the sword at people, or with Titans running around throwing a hammer or something like that.
I used to use the Nova Bomb on Control all the time. I've gotten a full team wipe before I do that.
Oh yeah, in Control it's not bad, but even still, you could do the same thing with the sword because it has AOE damage. So, but yeah.
So I guess what would be your biggest gripe about the new expansion? Is it still grindy? Is it still as grindy as it was?
It is, but it doesn't feel as grindy because there's a lot to do. You're not just grinding this mission over and over again to find this right weapon. There's a lot of new exotics. There's a lot of missions and quests to do even after you beat the main story. So there is a lot of grinding, but it's not as monotonous as some other MMOs are and as Destiny's been in the past. It'll probably get back there, though. It always does, and that's when it loses me. But then it'll bring something else back for $35 or $60 with season passes, and I'll buy it again because whatever. I'm a consumer.
To try it again. At least give it another chance.
It's fun. It really is, and especially right now is a good opportunity because the Dawning event is going on right now, and it gives you a chance to kind of revisit some old things, and the whole Christmas feel of it is really nice. So, on the subject of Christmas. What's everybody's Christmas looking like? What are some of your normal family traditions compared to how it's going to be during COVID? Yeah, we're gonna get morbid.
For me, it's honestly not going to be all that much different.
Okay.
Save the larger couple family gatherings. So we would normally, on actual Christmas Day, we'd go to one of her aunt and uncle's house, and her side of the family would be there, and then we'd go to my sister's house and hang out with mostly my brother-in-law, so my sister's husband's side of the family at
Gotcha.
night. And then for the last few years, we'd be going over to her parents' house for Christmas Eve, which we're still gonna do, and then my parents' house Christmas Day, which we're still gonna do because it's smaller single family people we've been hanging out with this whole time anyway. So
Gotcha.
it's honestly not gonna be a whole lot different, other than probably not going to those two other big family dinners.
Okay. Well, that's good. What about you, Volk?
Mine will probably be just like Thanksgiving. Go to my parents' house for 2 to 3 hours, eat, and then leave.
Yeah. Yeah, I'll be heading back home for Christmas. I didn't go home for Thanksgiving, but it's gonna be different because Christmas Eve we normally always do like a massive dinner. It was a tradition that my grandmother started before she passed away, and then my mother took it up, and so we usually have like my mother's side of the family, my stepfather's side of the family, everybody's over, and we usually do a big dinner. This year, that's gonna be small, probably myself, mother, brother, stepfather, maybe my aunt and my cousin. That'll probably be about it. And then Christmas Day, we would usually always go to my grandparents, but with them being older and Corona, we're not doing that. So they're just kind of sending the presents over and baking lasagna for us, which was still good because my grandmother,
Wait,
they're,
hold on.
they're,
Hold on.
they're off the boat Italian. So
Okay.
like
I
lasagna is
was
a
like,
tradition. Like my grandmother makes like some of the world's best lasagna, and
Look, don't act
so
confused. Lasagna is amazing. Who cares
yeah,
what time
lasagna's
of year
great.
it is?
But my grandmother
Dude, I got
makes
a crappy
amazing.
frozen Stouffer's lasagna in the freezer. I'm looking forward to one of these days. That stuff's amazing.
Yeah. So, but
I'll be
she's
honest,
just
those are
sending
pretty
that
good.
over, and that's really it. That's what we're doing. But I'm looking forward to it though, because I'll be home back in PA for like almost a week and a half, which would be nice
Oh,
to
yeah,
just
I
kind
say,
of
are
take
you
a
gone the
break.
whole time?
Yeah, I'm taking that Monday through Thursday after Christmas off and just staying from Christmas until New Year's and hanging out with people back there. So that'll be nice.
Nice, that'll be good. I mean,
Yeah.
nice change of pace for you.
Yep. Go back, hang out, maybe go out with some people, do a little bit of shopping or something like that after Christmas. It'd be a good time. Well, you'll probably still be hearing Christmas music though even after Christmas when you walk into a Best Buy.
So I have a question though. Speaking of question, wow.
Yeah.
So I have a question. Speaking of Christmas, how early is too early for Christmas music?
So I have a couple of conditions for Christmas music. Christmas music is okay on Christmas Eve, or Black Friday shopping. Because I used to work at a Best Buy, and I worked Christmas Eve at Best Buy. I saw people fist fight. There is nothing like watching people fist fight over PlayStations and TVs to Jingle Bell Rock in the background. It is beautiful. It's something out of a movie. It is beautiful.
It is in a movie. You've seen Jingle All the Way, right?
Yep.
Arnold Schwarzenegger,
Yep.
Sinbad.
It is so perfect. That's the only 3 times I'm cool with Christmas music. So
Oh,
Yeah.
God.
I'm not the biggest fan, but my Christmas music, Christmas decorations, Christmas lights, Christmas tree, all that stuff is the same for me. You can put it up the day after Thanksgiving, and you got to take it down the day after New Year's Day.
yep, I'm okay
That's
with
it.
that. But Christmas music, nope.
So here's the thing. For me, Christmas music. Why can I not speak right now? Christmas music is okay after Thanksgiving, or actually no, at the beginning of December, not after Thanksgiving. At the beginning of December, as long as it's not like the classics. So if it's like like I play on my stream every now and then, like the chill hop version of like Jingle Bells and like electronic versions of all the songs, like I'm okay with that because it's not the actual song.
Yeah, some
For
like
strict
Trans-Siberian
actual
Orchestra type stuff. I'm cool.
Yeah,
I mean, I can
those
listen to
guys are so
TSO
good.
any time in the year. That's
Oh.
fine.
We saw
But-
them live. That was
I've seen
Yeah,
them
we
a
went to
few
them
times
New
live. They're
Year's Eve,
great.
and it was incredible.
Yeah, I've seen them a few times. They were fantastic. But
what is one song that if when you hear it you almost immediately turn it off for Christmas music?
Little Drummer Boy. It's a stupid song. It's slow. It's boring. It sucks. Also, the movie was fucking shit. It was god awful.
There was a movie.
That's a movie?
Yeah, that's what the song. The Little Drummer Boy? Yeah, it was a movie. It was about a kid with like a donkey or something on his way to go fucking play Jesus a tune at the manger. It was stupid. It was stupid. And the song is
it like
dumb.
claymation?
No, not really. It was like hand drawn. It came out in like the 90s or the 80s
I
or
have
something.
no
It's
idea.
old as dirt and it was dumb.
Not a
It
clue.
never should have been made.
I think
Nope.
I had the VHS of that.
Yeah.
Nope.
No, but that's where like the song came from and it was stupid.
Okay, what about you, Ku?
Ah, boy.
He's trying to figure out how to top the
What
Little
song will you
Drummer
change?
Boy.
Let's say you're listening to radio, but no one ever does anymore. But let's say you're listening to the radio, and then song comes on. What would make you switch?
Am I by myself listening to the radio?
Does it matter?
Yeah.
Do both.
If I'm by myself listening to the radio, I'm not turning Christmas music on, period. So every song.
Fair.
But if the wife's in the car, I probably don't have a choice to not turn the radio off. So I just kind of deal with it. I can tune stuff out pretty good though.
Well, that answers
What?
the question fantastically. What song do you hate the most,
I
Falic?
don't know. I can't single out a song. Is what I'm trying to get at. I'll think. Come back to me.
Probably All I Want for Christmas Is You.
Mariah Carey.
Mariah Carey one.
Yeah.
Mariah Carey.
That's where I went immediately, but I didn't want to have that cliche of an answer.
What's your favorite Christmas song?
The intro to Die Hard.
No.
It is a Christmas movie.
Sorry.
What was the one that everyone did their freaking houses to with the lights with Trans-Siberian Orchestra?
It's something with the
Winter,
bells.
some Wicked Winter or something like that.
Yeah.
Oh, there was also
The
it
Witches-
Carol of the Bells?
was it
or
Witches?
something?
Well,
That was
that's
a
the
big
song
one
it's
too.
based off of, but
Yeah.
I was trying to think of the name of their name of the song.
Gotcha. Yeah, I'm
Yeah.
not sure.
That's. I mean, I don't know if you guys.
That
consider
one,
Christmas
that one's
song
a
or
little
not,
more
but that's my
overplayed,
favorite.
but they have another one again. I don't remember which one it is. I could tell you it when I heard it, but yeah, anything they do is real solid.
Gotcha.
They do have a few slow songs that just.
I just know I watched a commercial recently, and it had the what was it, Last Christmas I Gave You My Heart, and the very next day I threw it away, and then that was stuck in my head for like a week, so that was annoying.
Oh, thanks, asshole! Come on.
My favorite, the one that's been stuck in my head, is a remake that they did recently. At least I think it was recently, by a band called Small Town Titans, and they did a hard rock or like a metal cover of "You're a Mean One, Mr. Grinch." If anyone
Nice.
hasn't looked it up, dude, it is so good. The dude's
I'm gonna
voice
look
is
it up right now.
amazing. It's got like a really like dark
Who is it?
instrumental vibe. Small Town Titans. And it's fantastic. So I highly recommend anybody look it up. However, I found something on Reddit the other day that
Oh no!
Now he's like Jeremy Clarkson. I looked at the internet and I found this.
no. So I found this, and you're gonna love it, Volek. Aku, you'll probably, I don't know if you're as much of a fan, but it's absolutely amazing. And for a little Christmas special, I'm gonna sing it because it's golden.
Oh
Wait,
boy,
you're-
here we go.
Yeah. So I'm gonna
Where are my earplugs?
I'm gonna do a deep voice just to be funny. But
Oh, no.
yeah, trust me, you're gonna want to hear this. Yep. For the 12 days of letter Kenny my TV gave to me. 12 pitter patters, 11 let's get atters, 10 balls of tugging, 9 sushis and shimis, 8 beers drank, 7 how are you now, 6 good and use, 5 to be fairs, 4 annoying skids, 3 best friends, 2 further boys, and an ostrich allegedly.
Nice.
I found that on Reddit and I was like, bro, this is so good.
Nice.
Oh my
Get some of those references.
It was like, they are so perfect. So yeah, normally I hate that song. I hate 12 Days of Christmas. It's such a long, obnoxious, and annoying song.
It's true. It really is. If you go start
so
to finish,
dumb.
it takes you like half an hour.
Yeah. Like, it's like, you could just tell me 12 things. Like, just run down the list. I don't need each one in sequence, followed by the one that you already told me. Just get on with it. So, but yeah. Yep. 12 Days of Christmas. Speaking of which, Letterkenny drops on Christmas, the world's best Christmas present, and the one saving grace we have in 2020. Looking forward to that one.
I mean, I got something for next time. I'm just gonna bring it up so the viewers are looking forward to the next one. I think we should do. Is there actually any male OnlyFans? Because it came up in conversation during my stream the other day.
Oh, there are guys only fans. Absolutely. There's
I
a
know,
couple
but-
like small time celebrities that have them. Yeah, we could talk about OnlyFans accounts next time. I'm down.
Yeah, after Christmas,
Yeah.
New Year, people changing.
Oh yeah, absolutely. So, yeah. Well, now you guys have something to look forward to next time. In the meantime, this has been episode 6 of the Falic Empire. I'm Fate the Tatted Hate. We got Falic and Aku of the Falic Empire. We appreciate you guys
Happy
tuning
holidays.
in. Happy holidays, and have a very phallic Christmas, everybody.
Chris Monza Kwanzaa.
Christmas. All right.